Thanks for making time, everybody. I'm Scott, CEO of Up Content. Just to give a little background on kind of why we're so excited about the agency partnership standpoint, it's really where we came from. And so Up Content was initially created when I was running a smaller size marketing agency, about 25 people. And our team was using a lot of time supporting our clients in identifying articles of merit that were written by others, not only for use in their channels, but also for keeping ourselves abreast of what was going on. Couldn't find a solution that fit our needs, created Up Content, and then about almost 4 years ago now, separated from the agency and became an independent technology. So agencies and those partnerships are always near and dear to our heart, and something that we really take a keen eye at when developing any new features of how would an agency in a one-to-many style relationship be able to leverage this without friction. And so one of the things that we wanted to focus on today was one of the ways, not necessarily the exclusive way, but one of the ways that we've partnered well with agencies providing services to their clients. In many cases, that's been called content acceleration. And so to sum up the perspective on this, we know that yourselves as agencies are either creating or supporting the creation of a lot of great original content pieces, whether they're text-based pieces or videos or infographics or even experiential, once we get back to the ability to experience things. And in many cases, if you're facing things like we were facing as well, those are great assets. And oftentimes you get that single pop, and then it's hard to continue to derive the value from those assets over time. And so what agencies have utilized Up Content for is to help ensure that those channels are consistently providing value to the audiences in the interim of new assets being created, and possibly more importantly, driving that attention back to those original assets rather than having to send the same ebook out week after week after week, or try to find another way to talk about this new blog piece that you wrote for a social post. And so that's really where Up Content comes into play. Our focus is around the content curation element of your client's content marketing mix. And so our focus is helping you enable a cross-channel strategic approach to curation, not just giving it to a single person in the organization, but then leveraging those articles that you've found, just like you would an original piece, to drive traffic across your different digital channels and stimulate that traffic to come back to those original pieces as well. Because we're looking at third-party articles, we tend to play best for clients where trust and relationships are critical to not only that initial purchase decision, but to the ongoing relationship you have with that customer. So the top verticals for us, certainly financial services or professional services, technology firms, whether they're technology consulting or actually developing that technology, trying to showcase their own expertise. Healthcare companies as well. I mean, now more than ever, trust and the thirst for knowledge and cutting through the noise is critical. So being able to showcase not only what they as a healthcare organization think about certain items that are going on, but being able to help their audience cut through that noise and find the other articles that they should read to either reinforce or supplement their original insights, and certainly others as well. As I mentioned, one of the challenges that we faced when we were in agency world was that in many cases we would be curating independently for each individual channel. We'd be able to create a piece of content and then leverage it across all channels, tie all that activity together. But for third-party content, it was very siloed. And so our focus is being able to utilize those articles, curate once, and use across those different channels. And that leads us into certainly branded social, employee advocacy or social selling programs, digital selling programs, meaning utilization in not only brand email marketing activities, but also individual business development marketing campaigns. And then certainly on the website as well, whether it's a resources section, a way to drive down bounce rates, like giving somebody something else to engage with, that's part of that site. A price point perspective, it does greatly vary depending upon the use cases, but I'd say that core nexus of where we often see ourselves having the most success are subscriptions that range between $1,000 and $3,000 a year. We have some that are far smaller than that. We have some that are certainly far greater than that, including enterprise offerings where the content is being still curated within a small team in many cases, but then leveraged across thousands of employees in their own social selling or employee advocacy mindset. And we were also utilized for internal communications as well. So we're seeing a lot of growth in learning and development programs, supporting not only the truly employee advocacy of trying to get more people to share original content and then using third-party content as an enticement to be able to come in and view the original content, but we're also seeing ourselves leveraged in areas for learning and development internally. So sharing those thoughts and perspectives within the group as a primary use case, and then allowing marketing and sales to leverage some of that knowledge as well externally. So I wanted to move through kind of two, again, doesn't mean that these are exclusive, but typical offerings, I would say, in terms of how you would think about packaging this, as Alex had mentioned, as an add-on to a current retainer, or as a entree to a larger container, or retainer as a way to get people to start that relationship with you in a less risky way, if you will. And so this first one is kind of that more true content acceleration, meaning we're still curating in one location, but we're leveraging it across different channels. As Alex had mentioned, for those of you on the call, which I expect are many who are HubSpot partners, we are native to HubSpot and are able to integrate across email, social, and the website there, and certainly have an app marketplace page where you can look and get more information on exactly how that ties together. And certainly we're here to answer those questions as well. And that's really where you often see this offering come into play, where you're supporting social and the website of that client, maybe bringing content to their website as well, and email. And then most importantly, one of the things that we've seen be most successful when agencies are presenting this is not only a way to increase the consistency and relevance of the content that's being consistently shared externally, but with up content, you also have the opportunity to automatically overlay a call to action on those original or on those curated pieces of content, still taking the individual to Forbes or whatever the publisher is, to make sure we're being authentic there and adhering to fair use requirements, but having that overlay available as well to remind them of who took them there. And if they're interested in learning more, what is the original piece that they should then read to now convert back to the site? So we're not doing this just for the sake of volume or just to showcase that we're busy, but to do it in truly a strategic way that allows us to minimize the effort that we're spending, focus more on creating great pieces of content, maybe less frequently than we're doing today, but still achieve consistency by supplementing that with third-party articles and then driving conversions back. Again, the recommended fee and the up content costs are really there for illustrative purposes only. We've certainly seen organizations take those prices, and that's what they're offering. It obviously depends on what level of activity you're wanting to add into this, but wanted to show you that example, probably most importantly considering what the cost to provide that service would be from an up content perspective. And then we also have that kind of starter version. So if you're just working with an organization, maybe you're at much greater volume, doing smaller activities with a larger set of clients, and really just focusing on keeping social media humming, growing that audience, and driving that traffic back to your clients' conversion points. You can certainly focus on a single channel as well. And then you can see the related changes to both the fee and the cost of doing so. So we wanted to make sure that this pricing would be something that could easily be folded into a retainer from a cost perspective, still provide the margin that the agencies want to look for, but do it in a way that makes it easy and a repeatable task for your team where you can scale this offering and still make sure that from the client's perspective, they're seeing that true curation come into play versus just aggregating a bunch of nonsense and blasting it out across their social channels. As Alex had mentioned as well, HubSpot's certainly one of our focal partners and one of our favorite partners, certainly not one of our only partners. And so we do integrate, and this is really important to us, with really any technology in the marketing stack that is a receptor of content. So we don't want to have to go in and then redictate, well, if you're using this for social, if you want to use up content, you're going to have to switch that out and use something else. In many cases, those technologies were selected for a specific reason. And in many cases, that reason is much greater than wanting to bring third-party content into that channel. And so what we want to do is truly supplement and, as you saw in the beginning, accelerate the opportunity and the value that your clients are realizing from not only the investments in your retainer, but the investments in those other technology products as well. And in terms of a path to success, you'll see some of the general thoughts that we've seen work. One of the things that we like to do with organizations, agencies that are interested, is give them that free option to dive in, try out all the features, hopefully use yourselves as guinea pigs. And usually that's the first month or so, really test and tinkering, figuring out what questions you may have. You're going to know the culture of your team better than we. In some cases, people don't want to talk to us at all over those 30 days and just try it out and see what they can figure out, break it a couple times, ask questions. In other cases, that may have 5 or 6 meetings in a 30-day period to really walk through and structure that the right way. We know that's an investment just as much as you do to make sure that you're seeing that strategy start to come together. And that is only when we start moving into introducing this to one of your clients and really doing it where we're an extension of your team and making sure that they're seeing that success as well. From those successes, it's always great to have those quotes and see some of the impact happening really right out of the gate, and then translating that into how can we expand together and really how can we grow that partnership. And that's really where we start to move into, one of those key solution partners for us. Our partnership program is not just the affiliate link and hopefully you sell something for us down the road, but much more of a focus on how do we work most closely together, which is why our number of partners is fairly limited. We want to do thought leadership. We want to exchange ideas. We want to be there as an extension of your group. And so those are the types of agencies we want to be working with who see the importance of content curation as part of that mix and are open to being a part of that discussion and sharing their perspectives there as well. So I want to pause there for a second. If there are any questions that came across, Alex, or things that you wanted to talk about, given that I know you're fairly familiar with Up Content as well, before we just do a quick switch over to looking at it very briefly in action, and then of course being open to taking deeper looks with anybody in this conversation at an individual basis.
Yeah, no, this is really good. There's a couple questions. Andreas, thank you for all these questions. This is awesome. Couple of things that he had. He says, can I have, for example, 5 ebooks that I created and 10 from other agencies on my resource page? So what sort of, filtering and what can you put there and what can you not put there? How does that work?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. So I think the difference is, I guess the short answer is yes, you can do that. I think the nuance is going to be when you meant on your resource page. So certainly your ebooks are living in your CMS. So when somebody clicks and puts in their information and downloads that ebook, you own that ebook, you created that, you're the one who's handling that relationship and delivering that to them. If you want to also present, here's a great ebook from the Content Marketing Institute as well. That downloading of that ebook, that providing of that information still needs to happen on CMI's site. They're the owners of that material. What you're doing is helping to become a resource for them so that they don't have to go in and find that information themselves, as well as affiliating yourself or associating yourself with the knowledge that that knowledge exists. And so in many cases, ebooks aren't what people are curating. Those are still those owned assets. What you are curating then, or if you wrote an ebook around ABM, you're curating third-party articles maybe from those same publishers who are talking about the importance of ABM in the public forum, and then utilizing that call to action once again to drive that conversion back to your own ebook that's providing that unique perspective.
Yep. And a good use case of this is one big agency that we know use this third-party content for microsites that they spin up for their clients that are doing ABM. So they have a microsite on something like COVID, right? They need to populate it with tons of content, put CTAs, chat, embed video, load it onto some vanity URL, call it a day, rinse and repeat. This is a perfect use case for it. But Clara, you had a question that I don't want to butcher. Can you get off mute real quick and just ask that question? Clara, are you there? I can try to read it off.
Yes, I'm here.
Go ahead.
My question is, my client is an insurance tech startup, and just like a lot of financial institutions, we relied on blogs and financial education, do a lot of content marketing. Somebody recommended Quadrant data analytics to us, and I was wondering if Up Content is similar to that. I don't know too much about this sort of solution, but this is very much of interest to us.
Yeah, that's a great question, Clara. And I think I don't know Quadrant specifically, but I've heard the name come across. I believe, and this could be completely incorrect, that they're focusing more on the syndicating content to you, so allowing you to license content from them that they're creating.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Okay, great. Yeah, so that would certainly could be a piece of your content marketing mix. You know, that would be more of that second party content. Someone else is writing it, you're purchasing the license, you're republishing that content on your client's site. So that way that whole experience is unified. It tends to be in many cases more of a replacement for original content based upon that client's budget and the ability for them to defer some of that expertise to the Quadrant writing team, who may have some of that deep view, and be able to keep that on the site. Where we would fit in would be kind of another element of that mix would be, instead of pretending to own or showcasing that you own that content as the client, including articles from Benefits Pro or American Banker or Motley Fool as well. They're talking about what's currently happening in the space, where that Quadrant news may end up being more evergreen, maybe not entirely evergreen, but closer to it. We would be allowing you to be much more frequent in the including of that content on the website, being able to provide those Kiplinger style email digests, for example, as the individual loan officer or insurance broker out to your current subscribers. And again, do it in a way that it doesn't appear like this was everything from Scott's pen or from the organization's pen, which I'm going to believe obviously is only coming from one perspective. But instead I'm getting information that they're reading and therefore I should be reading. That's certainly where we would then fit in, I think, to complement possibly what's happening with Quadrant, or just support your original content development.
I see. So would you say that content is more positioned to accelerate the ROI on original content produced?
Yeah, I think that's right. So yeah, we do see that a lot, where someone creates these great original content pieces, right? We send out an email saying we created it. We got 3 social posts saying we created it. It's sitting on the website and we're crossing our fingers hoping people come, or have to invest a lot of advertising dollars, which can be increasingly tricky in the FinServ space, or wait for the SEO curve to catch up to that great original piece. What we would do instead is, if you wrote a piece around what's happening with currently property and casualty insurance as an example, there's a lot of other great pieces talking about that may not be your specific group's perspective. So instead of having to recreate all of those pieces, you're utilizing other people's perspectives, letting them read that, letting them engage with that, and then driving that traffic back to your original piece on a longer term basis. So that way you're getting more eyeballs and more opportunities to prove that value of your original content without having to invest in recreating all of the surrounding pieces.
That sounds awesome. Definitely interested in trying it out.
Fantastic. The other piece that I'll mention, I think, given what the industry you're talking about, a lot of FinServ organizations have compliance requirements as well. We do have review and approval flows that you can implement to have articles then be reviewed by a compliance officer before obviously they're approved out. We also have partnerships with automated compliance tools. So if you're working in financial services, advisory services, and they may already be subscribing to this compliance tool that's for archival, we can utilize those same compliance rules to make sure only the content they're seeing matches those compliance requirements.
That is amazing. Definitely needed. We have like some sort of internal process, but it's not, formalized, and it's kind of ad hoc right now.
Awesome. Yeah, I look forward to talking with you, Claire. If you have some time, I'd love to dig in a bit further and we can experiment with some things together.
Definitely. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right. So
then to just turn very quickly and kind of give a view of what this looks like before we wrap up here. This is the Up Content interface. It's available on any device, and we often encourage collaboration from those that are outside the communications group, even outside of marketing and sales. You may have subject matter experts in your client organization. These are often the people who will just send along a random email with a URL inside of it and then wonder why that URL hasn't automatically been brought onto LinkedIn. In this case, you can provide them padded room access, we like to call it. So you can give them the area that they only need to be participating in. They can review the articles that Up Content's recommending based upon your specific keywords and key phrases. So it's not just generic categories that you then have to sift through. You can design these however you would like. Up Content finds new articles twice a day. You and the team have the opportunity to review. You can leave notes to each other to collaborate. You can favorite the article, just indicating you want to utilize it later. And then if it's an article you wish to leverage, you would simply do what we call adding it into a collection. And this is actually what our team is leveraging. So we can send it to our Slack channel. We can have it do an alert if there's a brand mention for us. We can put it onto a page of the website, approve it for social, approve it for our team to use on their own profiles, and add it to an email digest. These are all custom created as well, so you can decide what that workflow then looks like. You can also update the summary with kind of your curated thoughts about the article, why I should read it. That'll automatically appear on the website and into the email campaign as well. And then we're also partners with Shutterstock, so you can leverage their image library and truly license the imagery that you're going to create and associate it with this article. Or if you're already using another image tool, just upload the image you wish to use and associate it with the article there as well. As I mentioned, we integrate directly into HubSpot from the email perspective, so this can become a recurring campaign of the approved articles you put into one of those collections or checkboxes. And then certainly you can just easily click the share button and it's going to load the broadcast editor for the hub that you've connected to HubSpot right here as well. And then you select your network and you're already familiar with this point forward. Once somebody clicks on that article, you do have that opportunity to overlay your own call to action. This can be designed however you would like, including just creating an image file of it's 728 by 90 pixel dimension, and that becomes the call to action. One of the great things about the HubSpot relationship, all of those UTM codes that HubSpot applies automatically to all links will then also flow down to this call to action. And so when they make their way back to the site, you have that full attribution as well. So I know we're running up on the end of time here. I'll include, this will all be part of the slide deck I'm sure that Alex will send around, just some standard questions to review. And certainly please let me know if you have other questions on any of those. And as I mentioned in the beginning, we're certainly here to support each step in that process. So this is not just here's your login, best of luck, I hope it works out for you. That support area is very important to us, and look forward to interacting with all of you and answering your questions as they come.
Sorry, I'm on mute. Jim, you had a question about LinkedIn, but Scott, why don't you address what agencies are doing between Up Content and LinkedIn, if anything?
In terms of the sharing to LinkedIn?
Yeah, just anything that you see agencies doing between Up Content and LinkedIn, since it's B2B.
So many of our customers are B2B, so therefore LinkedIn is probably the primary channel for social that they're leveraging. And I think one of the most successful uses we've seen is where the agency is likely managing the LinkedIn profile at the company level for that client, but then also making those articles available to those other client members, so the sales team, anyone who's outward facing. Giving them access into Up Content. We don't have any user limitations in terms of access. So you can give that sales director read-only access to the approved articles that the agency has been utilizing for their own company social, and allow them to easily come in and share to their own LinkedIn profile as well at a personal level. As we all know, those personal shares tend to get far greater engagement than you're going to get from sharing at a company page. And this allows you to address both of those and supports your team in being authentic in what they're sharing.
Love it. I love it. All right, guys. Yeah. And Scott, did you already do your CTA? I think you have something, obviously a partner program. That's what this is all about. Scott is amazing at customer support and partner support. So you'll enjoy that if you take him up on this offer. But what is your CTA?
Yeah, so the biggest piece is if this is something that might be of interest, feel free to jump in. Again, I know that there's different minds of individuals. So if you want to jump in, go ahead and sign up for an account. You'll automatically be put into a 14-day free trial. So during that 14 days, if you have a moment to send a note back, you'll get an email from me almost immediately. Feel free to send a note back. Let's set some time together. It is really me. And let's us chat about your goals and how we may be able to best support, as well as answer any product questions that you may have.
Awesome. Yeah, you've been awesome. Yeah, a couple big agencies already on board. You've got them ramped up. They're paving the way for some of the cool new services that you can do. The product's really good, way past product market fit. You've got an awesome solution. We're all happy. So now what we're going to talk about, thanks everyone. Thanks, Scott. But we're going to move on and quickly progress into direct mail services.